Sing sunny day. Sweet. Oh, hey, how's it going?
It's a nice, very nice day.
It's a nice day. It's not too hot, not too cold, a little breezy, but very good otherwise. We're here again at the shed, getting ready to barbecue. Today we're going to do something more of an experiment. Now, a lot of times you watch people that cook on TV and things like that and all their fancy shows, and they'll practice these things time and again off camera, so when they get to being on camera, they can show you how perfect everything is. We don't do that. We are doing something that's an experiment today. Never tried it this way before, and we're going to show you the results, good, bad, or otherwise. But let's say you want to make ribs tonight. Hey, we're going to have ribs tonight. It's just like it is for us today. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon, and you didn't get started early in the morning to get them low and slowing. What do? Order out.
Nuke.
No, you don't order out.
Nuke them in the microwave.
We are going to try to cook ribs in an hour. Now, the traditional barbecue says, you know, from way back when, tougher cuts of meat, usually not for the people with their pinkies in the air, given to the people that can low and slow and take their time to make these things taste good. Well, we don't have time for that today. But a lot of the steps we're going to take are going to be relatively the same. First thing we do is grab our magic torch, and we're going to light up a chimney full of charcoal. Now, I'm doing a whole chimney full. And the reason I'm doing that, according to what I've read and what I've heard,
Not have the plastic chair by the...
according to the recipes that I've been checking out, is you got to cook at a relatively high heat, contrasting to what we normally do when we barbecue at 250 degrees. We're probably going to be running 350 to 400 degrees today. Partly because we got to get the internal temperature of those ribs up to make them go. So we're going to let that warm up. And while we do, let's head on over to Frankencart over here. We're going to make ourselves a little dry rub. Now, I took the liberty of grinding up about 1.5 teaspoons or so of ground pepper. We're going to use a little Lowry's seasoning salt, a little sodium. Sodium's a little bit lower than regular salt. So for me, that's just a good thing. But we do want to add some salt to our rubs because it's just good for the meat. The meat likes it. So we're going to add just, you know, maybe a couple of teaspoons of that. We do want to have a fair amount of rub because we want to make sure we're coating our ribs thoroughly when we cook them today. And I'm only doing one rack because it's just the two of us. A little bit of ground mustard because mustard goes good with ribs.
Just the 12 of us.
We're not using a binding agent today, so we're not going to be trying to put any mustard on it, but a little ground mustard's okay. Cayenne pepper. We just want a little bit, just to give it a little bit of
color,
heat in the back of your mouth, just a touch, while still keeping it John Q. Public. Ground paprika is very important. If you've followed any of our recipes before, it really helps with color, and it's a great flavor to put on there as well. Pepper we already did. Here's our favorite garlic powder. Now, I was going to put onion powder in as well. Unfortunately, I'm temporarily out of onion powder at the shed. Probably more in the house, but I'm just too lazy to go get it. Wow.
That is effort.
Ma'am. Doesn't want to open. Ma'am. Sealed for freshness. Sealed for security is more like it.
Ma'am.
We don't want you in there. There we go.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping. All right, so we got our garlic powder open now, brand new container. We're going to load up on a little bit of garlic because
I just want the powder.
That's more garlic than I wanted to put in, but that's all right.
I don't think either of us are going to complain.
You know, the best thing about making your own stuff like this at home is there is no rules except for the rules that you set for yourself. Once again, ground ginger, I think, goes phenomenally with ribs, with pork in general. So I like having ginger in there as well. No Marianne and Skipper, just ginger. There we go. So we've got a little bit of dry rub made up, and I probably should make more.
Yeah.
I think we should make more.
You definitely didn't put too much garlic in.
It doesn't look like enough. So we're going to add some more stuff to it. Because we want to thicken, you know, I want to have enough to make sure I'm covering. Granted, I'm only doing one rack of ribs, but I want to make sure there's enough to go over that whole rack. That's fine.
Whoops.
That ain't going to hurt nobody's feelings. Again, the chili powder, just a little bit more. She's going to add some mustard.
Trying with one hand.
Yeah. More garlic. There we go. Keep going. That's probably good. Okay. So that should be a fair amount to cover one rack of ribs. Not too bad. We'll chop up some of those lumps that get in there. And that, unfortunately, is one thing that's tough about when you store your dry ingredients outside in a place where the humidity goes up. Now, we're not talking Floridian humidity here, but we get enough humidity in the summertime where it makes things a little sticky. So, there we go. So we got some dry rub made up. We'll put that aside for right now. And let's talk about the ribs.
Talk about Bruno. Garlic.
We don't need that anyway.
He just littered. Do you see that?
I know, it's a terrible thing. So let's talk about the ribs. I'm going to get my gloves on here.
Because I put my gloves here.
Now, the recipe that I checked out actually used St. Louis style ribs, which is the longer ribs, a little more meat on them, that kind of thing. Well, I don't have any of those right now, but I did have some baby backs, so I grabbed the rack of baby backs out. And you've seen us do ribs before, but if you haven't, that's okay. We're going to clean these ribs up a little bit. Now, one thing you do find on ribs, if you've never done ribs before, is the silver skin. And what that is, that's a membrane that's on the inside of the rib bones here. Some people will tell you, you got to leave that on. Some people will tell you, no, it's got to come off. Some people will take their knife and just score it. We've done pretty much all three. My personal preference, and I'm not very good at this, unfortunately, but I'm going to try anyway. I like to remove the membrane. Now, there's a lot of techniques that you can see that people do. Technique that are a lot better at this than I am. Because I don't do ribs that often. I kind of wish I'd do them more. But whatever. Anyway, sometimes the best thing you can do once you get it lifted up a little bit is to grab a paper towel because it's slippery. We're going to try to get this off of here. I'm going to probably make a mockery out of this and make a fool out of myself, but I'm still going to try. And I don't have the best hand strength in the world anymore. That's all right. Yeah, she's coming apart every which direction. But you can see how that membrane's coming off like that. We want to take that off. I like to take it off because I think that...
Do you have them there, maybe?
Well, that's the fat.
Oh.
Not only does that... I think it makes the ribs a little tougher on that backside. But I think it also helps to... Or it kind of deters the flavor from getting in the backside. Because I want flavor everywhere in my food. Yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble with this. Sometimes I use a spoon, and that tends to work better because the knife seems to tend to be a little bit sharp, even though it's just a plastic butter knife. But nevertheless, oh, there goes my pan. Nice catch. As you can tell, it's a little bit breezy out here today. So again, if the sound quality isn't the best, I do apologize. But we don't want to hold. What's going on up there? We don't want to hold back from doing our work and bringing good videos and having lots of fun and making lots of good food.
Something besides Pokemon.
Yeah, well, there's that too. There's a lot of people bugging us about, hey, when are you going to start doing barbecue videos again? I'm like, well, you're right. We are based on barbecue, and we should be doing more barbecue videos.
Originally.
Yeah, that's where we got our start. So, hey, comment below. Do you prefer the barbecue videos? Do you like Pokemon? Do you like the variety? Maybe you like both.
I like both.
I like both. Well, because I'm fat and I like to eat.
Pokemon's just easier for us to do.
It's a lot of bit. God, I can't even talk today. It is a great deal less stress on my body to sit at the table downstairs and open things and do things like that, talk about cards, and than it is to be out here at the pit for hours on end doing the cooking. But I like the cooking.
Both are good though, in their own way.
Very good. That's starting to come off.
Goodness, it just doesn't want to come
It's
off.
fighting me every step of the way. This
Sounds like those dogs over there.
Yeah, kind of, just fighting every step of the way. No, we're not going to cooperate. We don't want to come in. Anyway.
I think our neighbors got puppies.
Yeah, they do. And they're yippy. That's Kaye. I think I got it. There we go. Look at that. There we go. Now we got it. All right. So we got that out of the way finally. Hallelujah, past potatoes. Baby back ribs especially usually don't need a lot of trimming. They don't need a lot of cleaning. Obviously, if you get things like this, yeah, that's got to go. Yeah. I'll put it under here.
Scooby doesn't need that.
Yeah, he doesn't need that. For viewing pleasure, you can square up your end a little bit just to make it pretty.
Ooh, pretty.
You know, make it nice. We don't do competition barbecue because then it becomes work and then it's no fun anymore, for my personal liking. So we're just going to take it easy, trim it up a little bit to make it look, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't want to serve a plate full of slop looking stuff, but I like to keep it relatively simple. Got a little piece right there that I just am not happy with, so we'll get rid of that too. There we go. All right. Now if you'd be so kind as to get the pan up here. Thank you. And we're just going to use the pan to kind of catch a lot of the dry rub. And as you can see, when that silver skin was peeled off, you can see down in there how we can actually get at that meat now, which is what we want to do, in my opinion.
You need a longer pan.
Yeah, I do, or a shorter rib. But it's just like it sounds. We've gave this a little bit of patting down with a paper towel or two to kind of get up some of the excess moisture, which is contradictory to a lot of things that you do when you're using binding agents to hold your dry rubs on. Perfectly all right. This works out just fine. Good healthy dose of the seasoning. See, we catch some of the leftovers that way.
Don't want to waste.
No, don't like wasting.
No.
She's wasted. I'm telling you, she's drunk.
I swear to drunk officer, I'm not God.
Yeah. I'm under the alcohol.
You missed it right there.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll get it.
You missed a spot. You missed a spot there too.
But you stop it. Yeah, no. See, we get it all that way.
Lurch right. See?
Lurchy's even happy. He likes it.
He even agrees you missed a spot.
And there you go. All right, so there's our dry rub. Got them coated pretty good.
Oh my
But
goodness.
Lurch is having a field day today. I don't know what's going on, but
We'll find out in a bit.
yeah, we'll check that out in a little while. But I'm going to go over here by our Weber Performance Kettle Grill that we've affectionately named King Kong, literally because of the cover that I bought. Now, under a lot of circumstances, when I'm doing a low and slow, I'm going to put all the charcoal either in one of my baskets or way over to one side. The reason for that is I don't want the heat over here. I want it to draw across the meat with the smoke and everything like that, out the vent on the other side. In this situation, again, this is experimental for me, but I believe that I need to have my heat a little more uniform throughout the grill because we're going to run it at a higher temperature. I'm going to try to monitor it through my thermometer, through the venting hole, adjust accordingly. I've got a full chimney of charcoal because I want this to burn relatively hot. Normally low and slow, we make a small pile of hot, let it burn up as it goes, like the minion method we've talked about in the past. We're not doing that today. We're going to go for fairly good hot. Let me get my gloves real quick so I can adjust the grill. Grab these gloves. Safety first, right?
Kids, look at these gloves.
Yeah, they're nice gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's rare that I find them my size, so it's kind of a nice thing to have. Okay, there
Oh
we go.
my goodness.
So we're gonna pull that off out of the way. And again, I usually just stack it up in the corner, as you can see we did with our last cook. I think we've got a pretty good fire going under there, so we're gonna take the chance that we do. And we're gonna pile this charcoal up. We're still gonna go to one side, but we're gonna make it a bit more of a wide pile than a stacked pile.
Sure.
How's that sound? Does that make sense?
Makes dollars.
Make dollars? Dollar bill? Okay, there we go. So we've got some hot charcoal, sausage holder charcoal that was on the top of the chimney. We've got a fairly good pile, so this should burn relatively hot. I'm gonna close this up, let this thing get to warming, get the grill nice and hot. Well, let's come back over to Frankencart and take a look at what we've got going on over here now. So now we've got our rub on, we've got our ribs going, we've got everything kind of set up and ready to go. Leftovers, put those down there. Probably don't need that anymore, or that. We'll need that later. So the next step we're going to want to do, and again, this is where it gets a little confusing for me. Normally when I cook a rib, I'm going to put it low and slow on the grate, in that grate. Let me move that for a minute. And I'm going to cook them until they get down to, we use like the 3-2-1 method. You've heard of that before perhaps, where you cook them at about 250 degrees for 3 hours. Wrap them for 2 hours and then open cook them last hour or whatever, those kind of varied things where you wrap them at the end. We're going to wrap these to start.
I think I'll wrap it now.
Okay. So we're going to put the aluminum foil down, grab our rack of ribs, pop that right in the middle. And again, a lot of times when you wrap your ribs at the end of your cook, you're going to add your honey, your barbecue sauce, butter. People add that sometimes, extra dry rub, things like that. Yeah, we're not doing any of that either right now. So the theory behind this is kind of like, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, is it's going to be like cooking it in your oven. Okay? And the problem with ribs is there's not a super amount of fat on these things, so they tend to dry out if you cook them that way. So the theory I've come up with is the way they do this is we wrap them tight, so they will more or less steam and baste in their own natural juices. That's the theory I have anyway. And based on my 30-some years of doing this, and logic, where I got that from, I don't know.
Ow.
I don't know. I'm going to put another layer on that just to be sure. This is a heavy-duty aluminum foil, but I'd like to do it doubled up just because. That way there's no inadvertent venting or things like that. We want to keep all that moisture trapped in there. So not only will it keep the moisture and the flavor up, but it'll also help cook those ribs faster. Because it's got that liquid in there to cook them. All right. There we've got our ribs.
We're nuking these bad boys today.
More or less, that's kind of what it ends up being. Is it's almost like microwaving them.
Sick. I'm hungry.
That's good. All right. We're going to take the thermometer out and we're going to stick it in the vent hole and see what kind of temperature we're getting to. This might take a few more minutes. It might not quite be ready yet. We put that right in there, and that'll give us an actual air temperature of what's going on right here where I intend to kind of put the ribs in that general area. And while you're checking that out, I'm going to go put these containers away real quick. Get them out of the way.
Definitely moving slow.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's only been there for a very short time. So it's probably going to take a few minutes to actually get the bullpen warmed up where we have temperature. And that's perfectly okay. But see what this will do now, if you've never used a Weber Performance Grill or a Weber Ketter Grill or anything like that, actually you can use it on pretty much any smoker. The idea is your heat's over here, your vent is over here, so your heat should come across, your smoke should come across from there to there. Longer ones like our big horizontal smoker in there, the heat's at that end, the stack's at that end, does the same thing. Monitoring the air temperature this way for me, I don't necessarily have to have a probe. Maybe you don't have probes for keeping temperature on your meats, but this will give you an air temperature idea of what's going on in there and let you know, hey, I'm in the right ballpark. She's already up to over 250 degrees. We're going to give this just a couple of minutes to get up the temperature, and then we'll show you what it looks like when we get going. All right, so we've let the grill go for a few minutes. It's pushing 300 degrees right now. It's going to continue to climb. We've got the vent wide open to try to get the temperature a little bit closer to what we want. You can see the wind is kind of blowing a little bit, so it shouldn't be a big problem today. So let's see what we can do with it. We'll take the lid off. Got a nice bit of fire going in there, and I think what I'm going to do is I don't want to put them directly over the heat. The recipe that I found said low to medium heat. That's like 300 to 350 to me. So we're going to kind of go about there, I think. Not all the way against the wall with all the heat at that end, but not directly over them as well. I'm a little sad not using num-num wood when I'm cooking ribs. It kind of feels weird.
Yeah.
But rest assured, we're going to fix that problem later. In the meantime, this thing is going to kind of do its thing. I'm going to throttle it back just a little bit, probably about the halfway, to make sure that we don't spike the temperature too much. Now these say you can let them go for about an hour. I just don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to let them go for about a half hour. And I'll probably break the rules by taking them out and looking at them, because if you've cooked ribs before and you've seen us do ribs before, whatever, if you're familiar with them at all, you want to see the meat kind of pulling back on the ends of the bone a little bit. That's what we're going to be looking for at a half an hour's point, is just to see if that's starting. If it is, we're going up the right road. If it isn't, we're going to have to figure it out from there. So let's let that go for about a half an hour. We'll come back and show you what this looks like. Yeah, we're back up to 300 already. We'll show you what it looks like at about a half an hour's time, and then if we get to an hour, we'll pull them off, we'll show you what they look like at that point, and then take the next steps accordingly.
Should we show them what time it is so we can prove?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
That we're doing this for an hour?
That's fine. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see my phone or not. It's just 4:50 right now, 4:50 p.m. our time. Can you see that all right?
Oh, you helped put the camera in the right spot.
Well, probably. Does that show up?
No.
Come on over here by the shed.
Hold on.
There we go.
Just to prove to them.
Yep, there it is, 4:50 p.m. Okay, so we've got that. So we know at about 5:20 or so, we're going to open them up and see what they look like. We're going to kind of feel them from the outside. If they feel like they're getting really tender, we'll probably not open them and we'll just leave them alone. But if you can't tell, or if they don't feel like they're getting cooked so far, we'll adjust accordingly and figure it out from there. Learn as we go. That's what we do. All right, we'll see you in a half an hour. Hey, just a little bonus footage for you. We just ran out and did a quick errand on the way. That while we're sitting here waiting, we're at about 375, almost pushing 400 degrees. These are the trimmings that we had. You know what? Scooby deserves a treat.
He's a good boy.
I'm just going to put him on the grill, let him cook down, let him have it.
He's 15. He gets what he wants.
He gets to have whatever he wants because he's old like me. Mm-hmm. All right, gang. It is 5:22 according to this goofy thing.
Yeah, we can't go over there again.
Go over here again. 5:22, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're 32-ish minutes into this thing. We're gonna check these things out. Again, we had to leave for just a little bit, which was no big deal because they kind of take care of themselves.
He's got his MRS on.
Yeah, I got my MRS on because I had to go run some errands. All right, we got Scooby food cooking in there, so don't mind paying no attention to that. Okay, so they are starting to feel quite flexible. So I'm gonna take a look at them a little closer. I'm actually gonna unwrap them, which I'm not crazy about doing, but I'm gonna do it. Usually once I wrap them, I like to leave them until they're done being wrapped. Nobody likes to interrupt the wrapper, right? Let's just take a look and see how we're doing.
Smells good.
Yeah, it's coming along. It feels, like I said, they're starting. Oh yeah, you can smell it. Okay, so you can see the juices are starting to cook out of it pretty good, but I don't see a lot of bone pulling back there yet, or the meat pulling back off of the bone. So they're not anywhere near done, but they are cooking. And we've been running about 350 to 375 degrees for the first half hour, which is pretty good, but I'm thinking I might need to bump it up just a hair and maybe even get them a little bit closer to the fire. That wasn't too bad. All right.
Oh, Scooby smelled it. He's at my feet.
I gotta pull Scooby's food off real quick. These are just the trimmings. We decided to make them for Scooby. And we're gonna get these a little closer to the fire. We're just gonna put them back on, let them do their thing. At an hour, we'll show you what they look like, and we'll go from there, okay? It's like watching paint dry. It's 5:47, okay? So we're just about to an hour, a couple minutes short. But we should be able to see the results, or at least the progress. Because progress is the opposite of Congress. Anyway.
Oh my God. No. I might have to cut that out.
Yeah, that's one of them days. Let's go take a look. They've been in there about an hour, and the thing's been running almost to 400 degrees, sometimes a little over 400. So we're cooking pretty warm like your oven does, and I think that's the theory, what we're trying to go for with this anyway. Let's take a little look-see. Well, they smell really good. You can smell the garlic and all the spices that are in there. I'm going to have to flip them over. Let me get my tongs.
I'm a little nervous.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We're going to flip them over, and you can see that they're really starting to soften up nicely. But I can't see the back. Ah, there we go. All right, can you kind of see how the meat's pulling back from the bones over here? So we're getting close. I don't think we're going to make it in an hour, but I think we're going to be close to that.
I think about another half an hour.
Probably about another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, especially if we're going to be cooking at the heat that we're cooking at right now. So we're going to flip them over inside. We'll leave the pouch together the way it is. Maybe going to be an hour and 20 cooked. Maybe I'm not cooking at a high enough temperature, but we've got lots of juice. You can smell. It smells incredible. There's no question about that. Doing its job. You can see they're getting floppy and tender like they should. We'll get them wrapped up tight again. This time we'll put them meat side down and we'll see what happens in another 20 minutes.
See you in a bit.
6:03 or about 15. Yeah, there you go, 6:03.
Yeah.
About 15 minutes. It's been in there longer. I think I'm going to pull them. We're going to see what we got going on. Temperature is running about 450 degrees and we've got them close to the fire. So they should be getting done. Hour and 15 minutes, they should be getting done. Let's find out. Put this lid down. And again, they smell amazing. But I think I have a plan of what I want to try to do to attack this in the next stage.
With a fork and knife.
Yes. Ah, we don't need that. We use our hands. Ah. Okay, there you can see the bones are pulling out pretty good now. Take a look at that. A lot of juice in there, a lot of goodies in there. So I'm going to pull these off of here. Try to get rid of this tin foil without making a mess. Good luck. Hang on. Get them up on the cooting board. Yeah, come on. There we go. Okay, look at all that juice. Maybe just put them in the sink behind you or something. That way. There we go.
That is warm still.
A little warm? All right. Let me have at that then. Excuse my reach. There we go. Okay, let's take a look at what we got. So as again, like you can see there, the bones are pulling out pretty good. That's kind of what we're looking for. But you notice we're missing a lot of color because they're not smoked, they're not dark. They look like they're boiled. To test the tenderness, I'm going to cut this rack in half just to see. Oh, right on the bone. Let's flip it over so I can see what I'm doing, shall we?
Might help.
Might be a good idea. There we go. Cut it between the bones.
Seems decent.
Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, this will make it a little easier for me to handle once it gets to putting them back on the grill. Because what we're going to do now, first thing first, First things first, we got that little dry rub left over. Remember we showed that earlier when we used the pan to catch it. Let's put more dry rub on. Might as well use it up. Waste not, want not. It'll be a crumbs of the dry rub, but they done the beans. There we go. More flavor is good. All right. So, to try to get some more color into these, to try to get that smoke flavor in there, even though they've been wrapped in tin foil and not been able to get that, we are going to come over here to the grill. Take the lid off. And as you can see, we're still running really hot over there. Really hot. So my thought process is, let's put these babies right over the heat. Well, actually I don't want them right over the heat just a second, but we're going to get them over the heat. We're going to do what we always do when we barbecue. Besides get our tongs stuck, we're going to add some num wood, because we like the num wood. We're going to try to add a layer of smoke to this, even though we haven't been smoking them at all.
10-15 minutes.
Yeah, they're going to be another 10 or 15 minutes. And then what we're going to do, get them close to the fire. Now, if you've got the time, well, that's flaming up too, isn't it? That's not good. If you've got the time, you can make your own barbecue sass today. Once again, because time constraints are short, we're trying to cook these in an hour. We're using a Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sass. And we're going to sauce these ribs and glaze them up. Now, being over closer to the direct fire, we'll give them a lot higher temperature, a lot quicker that this will go around, get done. That fire will go out once we get that on there. So we're going to give them a little sauce. There we go. We're going to let them go probably 5-10 minutes on that side. Turn them over. Do them on the other side with the barbecue sass. Again, trying to add that num wood flavor. Get a little smoke in there, and we're going to see what it's like. It won't be long now. All right, gang. We've flipped them over and sassed the other side. It is currently 6:16. So we are an hour and 25 minutes into these ribs, which is slightly more, but expected in a way, because if they take an hour into foil plus the sassing, should take a little more than an hour. But we're, take a look at that. What do you think?
Looks good.
We added the num wood to see what they would do.
They darkened up nicely.
Yeah, well, the sass helps a lot too. So let's put them over there and see what we got. Besides a dirty grill. Slippery.
Splashed me.
Sorry, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me while I drop things. Okay. Well, there we go. There's our ribs. I'm going to let them sit for just a moment while I grab a fork. So let's see what we ended up with. I like to cut them from the backside. As you saw earlier, I was trying to cut through the bones. This way I can almost see them. Sometimes you can feel them. Well, they seem to cut pretty nicely.
Goodness.
Yeah, those dogs are having a day, aren't they? Now, as you can imagine, we don't have the smoke ring like we'd have if we low and slowed these. Probably not going to have the smoky flavor like we'd have if we low and slowed these, but that's all right. Again, if you're in a pinch, you're in a hurry, you need to get these done in 2 hours or less instead of 6 hours or more, or whatever it takes you to cook the ribs the way you do it. That's what you can do. They look to be cooked thoroughly, as you can see. But the big question is, how's it going to taste? Now, I'm sure these things are going to be hotter than the pits of Haiti. So I'm going to grab me a paper tool. She's just gonna finger it and go for it. Now again, we use the dry rub that we made for the video. We use Sweet Baby Ray's sauce. You do as much or as little of those things as you want, or use the ones that you like. But let's see how they taste. Let's see if they come off the bone.
Yes.
Oh, they
Really
sure
hot.
do.
A little too much Cajun and spicy.
A little hotter than I would normally make them. And to be truthful, you can see that there's a little bit of tug left when I pull it out, try to pull the bone off. Here, see, there's just a hair of tug. Now for me, that's the right way I like to cook them. And some people will say, well, I want them to be falling off the bone. And you're not wrong. And ribs are incredible when you do that. When they just melt in your mouth, absolutely true. But when you go to cut them, you'll end up tearing it all off the bone, and then you'll just have a pile of meat. Whereas this way, you've got a handle. I think they taste really good. What do you think? There, you can see it pulled clean off there. You know, it's not my favorite ribs I've ever made. But I think, once again, the purpose behind this is if you're in a pinch and you only have a couple of hours instead of having all day to cook the ribs, you can do it. It can be done and they taste good. So, the theory is correct. You can make ribs in, well, an hour and a half. I think that's great.
I'd say more like 2 hours.
Yeah, well, whatever. But less than 2 hours. How about that? Success. I like success, gang. That's great. Well, we got some eating to do and some cleaning up to do. So we're going to go and do all that stuff. As always, we appreciate you coming out and checking out the video. Like, share, subscribe, ring-a-ding the bell so you know when we put out another video, whether it's Pokemon or crazy adventures, Scooby eating snacks like we did on our short earlier today. Who knows what we'll be doing. But you got to be subscribed and you got to ring the ding the bell. Comment below, see what you guys, we want to know what you think of these ribs. Have you tried them this way before? See what you think.
I'm going to have another one.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's what they're for. We're going to eat. We're out of here. Thank you for joining us. Remember, gang, we cook ribs in less than 2 hours. And you can do it too. So go do it.